connection in this apartment.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Must be Wi-Fi somewhere.
Yes, sir. It's
Someone's got some Wi-Fi.
almost impossible to get up the stairs, but
Yeah, there must be some Wi-Fi around here.
all right. Well, one of the things that I was gonna talk to Jim about, and he's also been telling me some stories while I haven't been recording. I did apologize for not recording. I usually do, and why. All right. So when Robert Farnsworth yelling at you and accusing you of all that stuff, what kind of stuff was he accusing you of?
He was accusing me of raping people and killing people, like he accused you.
Now, what do people talk about doing to someone who does that?
Killing them, getting them off the freaking streets.
Yeah, exactly. So, saying stuff like that shouldn't be taken lightly, because it actually does get people
It hurts,
killed.
man. It hurts
does
when
hurt.
they say that stuff.
It also hurts your reputation and your
Yes, it
standing in
does.
an area.
It does. And I've been a misunderstood person for a lot of years. People they don't know how to take me. Sometimes I don't smile at them. I don't say hi to them and stuff, and they're offended by that. Sometimes it's hard to sit there with a smile like this, and they get to the point where they don't know how to take me, whether I'm looking like I'm mischievous or whether I'm looking like I'm a halfway good person. They don't know how to take it.
Well, you're definitely not dumb.
No, I'm not. I'm very smart.
Definitely quiet. On the day I met you, I literally met you over you getting yelled at by Robert Farnsworth, and one thing that I remember about it is that you were incredibly calm. You were just trying to be as nice as you could towards him, and for me, it was freaking me out, because I know people who are dead because of stuff like that.
Right. I've known Robbie since he was 17 years old. And he's 40. He's 42 or 43 now. So I've known him for a long time, and I know his actions. I know the way that he really is. I've seen the other side of him, which is he's not Mr. Asshole all the time. He can be a real nice person. And I think that this job with Warner's is going to help him in his quality of life to become a better person and have self-esteem and get rid of that depression that he's been under for so many years from being homeless and other things.
Well, you were telling me a story about what you were afraid would happen to him because of his depression right before I started the recording.
I think he's going to run out in front of a car or something and get ran over by a car. And that's my feelings. There was a guy over at the Pioneer Museum that has been homeless for like 7 years. He did that the other day. He ran right out in front of a car because he talks real loud when he talks real. I'm talking about Joe. You know Joe?
The guy with the red hair?
They call him Radio, with the big loud voice. The guy with the big loud voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, Radio. Yeah, he got life flighted into Portland the other day. He got hit by a car. And he ran out right in front of that car. He knew that car was coming. And he, right there in front of the, not this front of the museum, but the back part of the museum.
Yes, sir.
Right there where the highway is.
Yes, sir.
He ran right out there. Had a car hit him. We'll probably never see Joe again.
That's something I'm pretty used to as well.
Because I'm sure he's going to get arrested for doing that too.
Yes,
They'll
sir.
throw him in jail for 6 months to a year for doing that. But he was just a guy that was going through he was going through homelessness, he was going through depression, he was going through PTSD or whatever the name of it is. TSD.
Yeah.
He just decided one day that he'd jump in front of a car. And I think Robbie Farnsworth will probably do that too. Jump right in front of a car.
Now, that stuff that that Robbie yells, the kind of stuff that obviously with me, I know exactly what the repercussions are for that, and you know what the repercussions are for that.
Yes.
Do you feel that the different agencies around here are ignoring the fact that those are the repercussions and that it is scary,
Yes.
especially when that person follows you?
Yes, I don't think they're doing their job like they should be doing their job.
Do you think it
I
puts
don't think
people's
the
lives
police
at
are doing their
risk?
job. I don't think that a lot of the agencies are doing their job. And there should be people that are put into apartments instead of having to live on the streets all the time. There's gotta be a way, some money, a grant or something that'll get people into apartment living again. So they can raise their self-esteem and they can not have to harass people anymore. I think if Robbie was living in a home or something like that, I think he'd be a lot better off.
I agree.
Instead of
think
being
he'd be
homeless.
safer, and so would we.
And then you told me that Helping Hands is getting ready to shut down, and that's gonna be
Yeah.
real sad for a lot of people, because there's probably close to 75 people out there at Helping Hands right now. And they don't have any place to go after this happens, so there's gonna be more people on the streets.
Yeah, Susan was telling me that after about 2 weeks, and that was about a
Uh-huh.
week ago. And I'm hoping she's wrong about that. But she was out there before. She was also trying to get a job out there.
But I'm sorry,
Oh, you're good.
I saw in the newspaper just recently, the Headlight Herald, on the front page, it said that Helping Hands got a grant for 500 grand.
I hope that was enough to keep them open, because the last I heard from Susan, she might have gotten her job there because of that.
Uh-huh.
That's a piece of news that I hadn't heard yet.
Yeah, it was in the brand new paper, it was in the brand new, today's paper.
Very
They
good.
got 500 grand.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of this stuff out there with Mr. Farnsworth staying out there, at least it's somewhere where he has to stay.
Yeah, and he's right next door to, well, actually,
For them telling me to go to a lot of these places like Helping Hands, for me, I do have to be afraid of the situation with Mr. Farnsworth, and it's not something that I can turn off after the number of times that he's done it.
right,
I can't just magically make myself not afraid.
right.
But as far as the situation with Robbie, like with him having,
And he's a power crap. He tries to get power. And if he can find somebody smaller than him, or a girl, or a lady like that, he pushes him around a lot more than he would somebody that's 6'5" or 6'5" and 280 pounds. He
Yeah.
does. He picks on the ones that he knows aren't gonna freaking go after him.
the little guys, the ones that
The
can't
little
defend
guys.
themselves
They
against
can't
him.
defend themselves, yeah. And the women that can't protect themselves.
Now, with me recording that, not just with you, but other situations with Robbie, and him being angry and retaliating against me, for recording it, do you think that it's appropriate for me to record it?
Yes, it's appropriate for you to do that. We got freedom of speech and freedom of a lot of things now in our lives, and freedom of speech is one of the big ones, and you got every right to do that.
Do you think that this is something that the police should take seriously?
Yes. I think he's a danger to others and himself too. Unless this job is really gonna make him improve and be better. I think he's a loose cannon ready to go.
Now, when he was like that, he eventually apologized to you, right?
Yeah. But like you said, he goes back and does the same thing to somebody else.
And with me, he apologized to me as well. So that's the thing. When he apologized to me, I thought everything was cool. And, when he was walking by me a couple of times and waving, I opened the door and was telling him I heard he was doing good. And that's when he started yelling at me that he was going to hurt me. Well, that he was going to beat me up is what he was saying. But, for me, it's an ongoing thing. And
Right.
for my communication issues, obviously with you aren't being a bully towards me for speaking.
No,
And you're not trying to send me to a bunch of places that
Absolutely
you've
not.
been to that you understand.
absolutely not.
But also, how do I say this? I had a bunch of points all at once that came into my head, and I was wondering about them. All right, for you, you're very soft-spoken with most people. I've noticed that a lot of times you don't make waves. You figure you'll mind your own business, and you do a good job of that. You are very good at being respectful of people's boundaries. When you say you're not able to make it, you admit it. When you weren't able to make it, at least you said something. And, with the communication issues, is your phone fuzz, is that me not trying to communicate, or you not trying to communicate, or is that just an issue that we have?
That's just an issue we have with the phone
All right.
and the phone company.
And it's one of the things that I've often had used against me is that people say, oh, well, he's not trying. There's communication issues with being stuck in public.
Like I said, this building's pretty old too. It's like
Yeah.
100 and some years old. So if the phone crackles and crunches and stuff, and I'm trying to say something over the phone, I'll try my best to make sure that it's clear to you too.
Yes, sir. Now, the conditions that I live in, given you knowing me for, I don't know, it's almost since I got here, like 11 months ago. 'Cause, like in that time, have you ever thought that I was schizophrenic or
No.
anything of that nature?
No,
How many times have we spoken?
we've spoken close to 12, 13 times.
Yeah, eating dinner together and things
Yeah.
like that. When there's a situation like with Mr. Farnsworth yelling at me, and I'm told that that's not appropriate,
Right.
or that I'm told that it's not illegal, but then I scream at the top of my lungs and I'm told that it is. Is that appropriate?
I think so. Like I said, you got freedom of speech. You got freedom of speech.
So with how do I say that? I'm sorry. I'm trying to condense a lot into a small amount of time,
You're
and
doing
I'm
fine.
obviously not any sort of journalist by any means. I'm just somebody trying to get help for me and a lot of other people out here whose voices aren't heard.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things is with all of these different agencies, with them not wanting to be recorded or trying to make rules that they can't be recorded, how much do you think that puts us at risk?
I think that puts you at big risk.
With
The Headlight Herald lady want to talk to you anymore?
there was a situation with the publisher. The publisher thought that it would look bad if I was in their store working on my stuff, which
geez.
sucks because I was stuck in public, and that's one of the things about being autistic is that the loudness makes it difficult to communicate. With Robert Farnsworth actually being schizophrenic and people understanding that and giving him the leeway that they do, and me being treated like I'm schizophrenic and people using that instead of a leeway thing, using it to pretend I'm a violent person out to hurt people.
You're a regular person.
Well, thank you. So do you think it's appropriate for them to send me to mental health when
No.
an issue arises?
No. No. I think they got a lot of people in mental health that shouldn't be there.
Well, they're making a lot of money.
I know the Tillamook
TLCC
Counseling Center has people that go in there that really shouldn't. They don't have any business going in there. They just got low self-esteem, and then the
Yeah.
counselor makes you feel like you're that much smaller than you really are.
Yep, victim blaming, victim shaming, talking over the victim, dictating where the conversation goes. When you're
Mhm.
going to therapy, your therapist shouldn't be talking through any of it. Their job is to listen to understand.
What's going on in your life?
Exactly. And if there's something where, let's say you're an at-risk adult, let's say you're 65 or older and you're being abused at home,
Right.
you're supposed to be able to go to your therapist and tell them that that's going on without them trying to insinuate that it's your fault or maybe you might have asked for it a little bit. The same way that a lot of rape victims who go in to speak to the police and they have to go in alone are treated. The victim is treated like they're the villain. They're treated like they did something wrong.
I think Tillamook Health Center probably does more for the people that their health is not exactly what they want it to be and stuff. I think if they go in there and talk to a doctor or something, I think they get better things happening for them than they do at the counseling center. The Tillamook Health
I
Department.
agree. Now, if you're assaulted, is it appropriate to? All right, I guess I should state this differently. The police keep sending me to places like Tillamook Family Counseling Center.
And they don't do nothing.
They don't do nothing.
No.
They set it up for 30 days away.
Go to Tillamook Health Department. I think you get better freaking service there. They help you a lot more than any of the counselors over at the counseling center.
Now, with crimes being committed, if a crime is committed, it's supposed to be turned in right away. If the victim has a health issue or a safety issue with calling immediately, or there's an issue with them reading back the phone number or you reading the phone number out because you're in public, they're supposed to respect that.
Yes, they are.
But what was the point about that? I'm sorry, I had a bit of an anxiety attack because I realized I'm gonna have to go back down the stairs. I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry that caused you anxiety.
Oh, that's all right. It's not your fault. With that kind of stuff being said, and with me having a situation that happened elsewhere that followed me here, I have to deal with a lot of stuff every day that people don't stop to understand and try to speak up about or try to realize that I'm incapable of doing for myself. Now, coming up and down the stairs was dang near impossible, but I made it. Thank goodness. But, all right, the living in my car.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think those are okay living conditions? Are those humane or no?
Yeah. Your car needs cleaned out a little bit. I don't think that garbage and stuff needs to be in there.
I agree.
You don't need to deal with that because that probably causes you more anxiety than anything.
It certainly does. And that's one of the things about autism is that it's the fact that I have very little ability to do anything about it.
Uh-huh.
And, a lot of times I was taking it out and throwing it in the gas station dumpsters.
Right.
And when I would do that, sometimes I'd start getting yelled at by the people at the gas station. Hey, man, you can't do that.
Right.
Only garbage from here and stuff like that.
Right. Take it on down to the main street down there and dump it out there. Or take it over to the Transit Mall and dump it out there. Because you're gonna get freaking persecuted for it. It's easier to do it on the main stem or somewhere where there's not a lot of people.
Now, with the Medicare and Medicaid fraud, which is the big thing with TFCC that everybody that I've spoken with is, they're up in arms about it, but they're all wanting to help themselves and get help just for themselves, and it's screwing all of them. But the being sent to therapy, when a crime is committed, it is important that it be documented and
Yes.
that the evidence be collected immediately.
Yes.
Correct? Now, with me being sent to mental health and being told a whole bunch of different places to go, they still haven't investigated anything or collected any of the evidence, even though I recorded so much of it.
Right.
And they're also not paying attention to my disabilities by
Right.
telling me to do things I'm not capable of.
Sure.
Like my muscle fatigue is a very real thing.
Right.
All right, how did I begin that part? I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, you're fine.
Um, I realized you were saying some stuff that
Oh, I was just saying that maybe if some of the clutter and stuff was out of your life, some of the garbage and stuff out of your car gets out of your life, your self-esteem would be a little higher, and you'd feel a lot better driving that car around. And
Very
you'd
much
feel
so.
a lot better being around.
But a lot of times I spend my money and my time having to use that vehicle and all the gas in it to keep my phone charged and also to go all the services I was sent to.
Sure.
Now, if there's a crime committed against me and the cops are sending me to mental health, that means they're assuming that I am mentally ill.
Yeah, because of the clutter in your car.
No, not because of the clutter in my car.
No.
There's some instances where they didn't even get to see that, but we'll get to that later. The whole mentally ill thing that they're preying on, that's how they send me to TFCC. If they're calling me mentally ill, then they do have to investigate it right away and get a hold of Adult Protective Services, and they both have to work together to help the victim to turn it in.
Yeah.
So they never did that at any point in time. Instead, it was just police talking over me. And then when I go to TFCC, there's all these people who are saying, hey, you know, when I tried to turn stuff in, I was sent to TFCC and sent to care. And some of them were eventually able to get housing, which is great.
Right.
But the problem is when there's no corrective measures taken towards the person who's victimizing me,
Right.
then it's not a safe environment. If I can't go to the police safely, it's not a safe environment. As a disabled person, that puts me in a very compromising position. And for me going to TFCC, telling me it's not their job, I have to go to the police. Well, the police have already screwed up a whole bunch of time there where they should have collected evidence and taken statements and talked to witnesses. Instead, they give me the mentally ill thing, and then instead of using it the way they're legally supposed to, which is investigate the crimes against me, instead of doing that, they send me to mental health and they try to have me re-diagnosed. Now I've got my diagnoses from Marcia Estrada, and I don't know how I'd be able to send it to you knowing that you have the problems with your phone here that you do. But
I can give you my post office box. You can write me something and send it in the mail.
Well, this is on the internet though, which is the problem. So I'd have to send it to you that way. Anyway, I got the last interview part that I made, I spoke with her after I spoke with you, and I did have to run, so I came back out.
Sure.
But I'm gonna do a video breakdown on that. It's on the internet. That's one of the things I was hoping to be able to send you, but once you're into the internet trap, you're pretty well stuck there if that's where your evidence is at.
I don't want to get stuck
at.
in the internet thing.
Me neither. I certainly didn't.
No freaking way, man.
So with me having the situation with Natalie and people pretending that I was a stalker or a rapist or any of that stuff, and it being literally worldwide.
You know it's not real. I know it's not real.
I know it's not real, but
you never hurt nobody.
But the problem is that a lot of people hurt me because that is on the internet and it is worldwide, and a lot of people have ideas they keep pushing on me, like just move elsewhere. I never get a chance to establish friends anywhere.
Wow.
Because I'm busy getting victimized.
That's
so
wrong.
With that safety risk there, you know, it's not just people, not just Robbie, that everyone's all like, oh, it's just Robbie with you or with me. You know, this is a lot of very dangerous people, and a lot of people with more severe mental illnesses than you or I or Robbie put together. Now, with those people threatening me and a lot of them having vehicles, like how much risk factor, or, you know, how important is it for the police to take it seriously before someone's allowed to hurt me or my friends or my family again?
You got to get the police to, jump in, but if they're not going to jump in, I'm afraid you got to do it alone.
And that's the thing about doing it alone that I'm not willing to do, is literally the only things that I can do to protect my family is to get myself locked up or end my own life. So that's why I'm fighting so hard to get the police to do their job, with them talking over me the way they do, and then sending me to therapy for them to commit Medicare and Medicaid fraud
Right.
instead of doing anything to help out the victim to turn in the evidence. You know, that makes it a very scary thing for me. And
Right.
for you, I believe that's something you can kind of understand. Not
Oh, yeah.
that you're living in it, but it is understandable.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So with a lot of the things that you're able to understand, does it surprise you when these places and peoples act like they don't understand such
No.
simple concepts?
No. I don't know what their problem is, but no, I don't understand it. I don't understand the way that they work.
All right.
I don't understand the way that they work. I couldn't get a restraining order on somebody the other day. I tried to get a restraining order on them. I went to the judge and everything. And there's not enough evidence here against the person that you're going after, and there's nothing we can do for you, Mr. Roberts. Have a good day. I tried to get a restraining order on somebody that was hurting a few people around Tillamook. He ended up getting one of his feet, all the toes cut off of one foot, and he ended up over in the valley. But yeah, he was going after people for a while, and I tried to get him arrested. And the judge said, no, you can't do that. It was like he was working for the freaking police department or something. Yes, sir. I'll be right back. I gotta go use the bathroom.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I don't know. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't, man.
Yes, sir. I agree. All right. So one of the things here is he had a friend that called him and had some plans, and so he's gonna go visit his friend, and he's gonna try not to be late because his friend likes punctuality, which I understand. You guys get to see that. You also get to see how sometimes I'm not punctual. Sometimes life actually does happen. Sometimes you pop a tire. Sometimes a hose pops. Sometimes your friend calls you from Memphis, Tennessee and says, hey man, I'm stuck in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm like, and? Dude, it's Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, whatever. I'm scared, man. I just want to go home. I just want to see my daughter. Okay, we'll take care of it. Or the Anahunka just wanting to go home to Boulder. All right, we'll do our best. And we did too. We don't all see eye to eye. And there's also a lot of stuff that, like for me, not being a professional interviewer, and of course, after being razzled and frazzled the last few days, you can hear me yelling and screaming and shouting. You can hear me getting the grr on my voice. Robert Farnsworth costs a lot of money to this county. A lot of it.
Yeah, we all walk the crooked mile.
If they were to just hook him up with housing.
We all walk the crooked mile. Sometimes we got to deal with stuff ourselves.
Yeah. Now the people that aren't able to do it themselves,
nope,
those are the ones that we have services for.
That's
and with
right.
those services not doing their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catch
That's right.
22.
That's right.
How much longer till you have to go to your friends?
Oh, pretty soon. He's going to get mad if I don't.
Yes, sir.
I don't want him to get mad at me.
Yes, sir.
You told me you'd be here in an hour.
Well, you allowed me a place to sit down and work on this, and of course we had to condense it.
Yeah.
But
I need to sign this thing?
nope, I was just figuring I'd leave a copy there for you so you could fill one out about any of the situations that you were there for.
You.
Yes, sir. I think there's 2 pages together for each of those. And
Oh,
I
is
can make some more copies. This
Yeah,
is supposed to be
report?
for the sheriff. Although I'm pretty sure the sheriff's one of the guy, or no, the police chief. But I'm pretty sure the police chief is one of the people I'm trying to turn in. I just haven't seen him face to face, so I don't know. And I haven't been able to go through all my video cameras, so I also don't know. I want to verify it with the evidence. I do have the evidence. I just gotta go through it, and not having a place to go through it makes it impossible. The first time with Robert Farnsworth with me would have been easy. It would have been a matter of give me an hour in a quiet room and I'll write it down and we'll get it started. But, you know, at this point, after, 6 months of them not doing anything, it's about 8 months now of them not doing anything, he's still threatening me when he has a bad day. With him, trying to assault me before, I do have to be afraid. And with his mom yelling at me, screaming at me, telling me stuff like, "Oh, well, you don't have to get a restraining order against him." I'm like, that's trying to coax the witness and deter me from getting the help that I need.
I'll take these down for you.
Yes, sir.
Did I get everything on there? Did we get everything on there?
I think so. If there's anything else that you can think of later, then you can always get a hold of me and let me know when you see me, because I do see you a lot.
But yeah, go to a primary doctor. Talk to a primary doctor about the people that are, because they usually ask you if you got a danger in the place that you're living.
And that's what they're all supposed to do.
Yeah.
And you're right about that.
Yeah.
That's what all of these places are supposed to do.
Is there anybody here bothering you? Are you being harassed by anybody?
Am I safe in my current living condition?
But yeah, the doctors always ask that question. Your health professionals don't, but the doctor does.
I got a question. If I was able to set up an appointment for a doctor out of county, possibly even in Portland, which I know is a long drive, would you be willing to go with me to try to help explain some of this stuff?
You bet.
Thank you.
You bet I would. I'm not gonna set you up this time. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. You didn't.
I had to wait for my company to come, and they didn't show up till 6 o'clock that night.
That happens a lot. There's a lot of people who are going to help me that their grandparents died, or things like that happened. Some of them got into car accidents, and I do understand. One of the things with me though is if something like that happens to me, people do not understand.
Wow.
They want me to just get over it, and it's not a problem that I should be allowed to have any emotional response to. I'm like, this is kind of having a different set of rules for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a novelty for them young ones trying to watch me go up the stairs.
Well, they get a kick out of me coming down the stairs and going upstairs. It usually takes me about 15 or 20 minutes to get up and down these things. I'm not the young man I used to be. The bottom of my feet feel like rubber most of the time.
I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
When I'm trying to turn in the police, is it appropriate, in your opinion, for me to be literally sent to the police officers that I'm trying to turn them into themselves?
I don't know how to do that. I'd go talk to a judge.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me do
I'd go
that
talk to
either.
the judge at the courthouse. Yeah.
So if you had to turn in let's just say an Officer Johnson existed. If you had to turn in Officer Johnson and you were sent to Officer Johnson to turn in Officer Johnson, do you think that's a conflict of interest?
I think so. I'd go talk to a judge and see how you were supposed to handle that one.
I think so too, and that's what I've been trying to do. That's why I recorded it.
Talk to a judge.
I don't think they'll let me.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you? Pretty good. How you doing?
I've gone in and tried before, and they send me to the lady at the clerk of the courts, and then she ends up talking circles around me the same way as all of them. All right. Thank you, Jim.
Go talk to the judge. We'll talk to the district court judge.
Well, I'm down to 3% battery on my phone.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple of questions there I didn't exactly know how to ask, and I'm like, man, how do I ask these?
You got you a nice 9. Got you a pretty 9.
Yes, sir.
You want me to put these in the seat next to you?
Yes, sir. Thank you. If it wasn't for those stairs, that place would be a perfect place to go.
What's that?
I said if it wasn't for those stairs, that'd be a perfect place to go.
Yeah. It's a good hideout. It's a good hangout. I just about said hideout, but I meant good hangout.
Well, it'll probably be a good couple of days before I'm able to make it up the stairs again. So I won't make any plans to come visit you here and at all during that period of time. But thank you very much.
You're welcome, buddy.
I'll probably come up with some more stuff as I'm instructed on what to do if I'm given more instructions, but usually it's more of the round and circle stuff.
Well, go talk to a judge about turning in the chief of police guy.
Yes, sir.
You take care.
Yes, sir. You too. Thank you, James. I've tried talking to a judge. Tried talking to the clerk of the courts. Tried talking to the district courts, the criminal courts. I have tried everything there is to do, except I've tried it alone. And there's the fact that I do need a primary care physician, but I can't trust anyone here in this general vicinity. I can't afford to just go back and forth between here and Portland, and the people that are in this town are not acting not acting appropriately about the situation. Oh, gross. Right now, for the most part, Mr. Farnsworth is not apparently a danger to folks, and that's a good thing. When he has his good days, it is a good thing. When he has his bad days, it's a scary thing. For Jim, he's known Farnsworth since he was 17. I do understand the safety issues and the safety risks, but I also understand the not wanting your friends to get in trouble. But the other thing is, he's not trying to keep his friend from getting in trouble. He actually cares about Robert. Fucking alfalfa. No, that's not it. I left incense in here burning, and that's probably what it is. I wasn't quite sure how to ask a lot of the questions that I was asking, just because I was, like I said, to see how easy it is to derail the train. And that was just with, one person that, there's some stuff that he had to say that was important. And there's a lot of stuff that I was hoping that we'd talk about, but there's, the fact that it's a limited amount of time. There was some stuff that I would like to write down, and he doesn't have very much space, He showed me some of the stuff in the apartment that Farnsworth was trying to claim that he was the devil for, and I did make a few jokes about it. I'm not going to lie about that. because my mom, she would have done the same thing as Farnsworth. There's the devil in that. That's demonic. No, it's artwork from China. Now, I did have a list of things that I'm supposed to ask, but I can't find the list. That's what living in these conditions is. There's a lot of stuff that Jim has gotten to be a part of, and I'm thankful for that. I'm also thankful that he's not somebody who is trying to get Farnsworth harmed or hurt or shot or killed or anything horrible like that. He wants Robert to be safe. Now, if the Helping Hands just got $500,000 grant, that's great. Hopefully that'll help him out, but it doesn't detract from the fact that I still have to be afraid of Mr. Farnsworth. I still have to be afraid of him retaliating because he's angry, or trying to establish dominion over me because he sees me as weak, like a child or a girl. And I'm not saying that he hurts children. I did want to get into a little bit about the homicidal tendency thing and how scary that is. But also, I'm treated like I'm a Robert Farnsworth and a Ted Bollinger and a Tim Beeson and a Joseph Lopez all rolled into one. You get to hear how you want to understand people that you've been friends with. They have a mental illness and you want to give them leeway. But when they're hurting people, you know, there's a point where you've given an acceptable amount of leeway to the point where now they're getting a big head. They have a victim that nobody's really going to listen to because he's an outsider. And, you know, none of these people intended that. It's not like they wanted me to be hurt. It's that at the beginning, they didn't see it as a big major thing. It's just Farnsworth. I think you should go listen to the first part of the interview too, and the second one. Because very much, Jim says very much and states very much, he does care about Farnsworth. It's not a hate thing. He does say good things about him, and as far as he's seen, other than a little bit of shoving, he's never seen Farnsworth actually get violent with someone unless they got violent with him first. Now, there's other people in town who have different experiences. And that's what's important about your experience, is that your experience is valid. Just because he did not do it to you doesn't mean that he did not do it. And just because you don't have to be afraid of him doesn't mean that others don't have to be. For all these people out here who aren't being able to help themselves, it's because instead of spending $50,000 a piece to help them out, you're spending $100,000 a piece to lock them up and send them through therapy. The police don't want to do their jobs, and we're going to do a video breakdown because we're going to hear from Nicole the same thing as we hear from everybody else. They can't do their jobs because they don't have time. And you know what's fucked up? Is that I feel bad for Nicole because of that, just because she said that. But at the same time, that is not my fault. It is not the victim's fault. It is not a poor person's fault that all this money is being spent by the police to incarcerate victims. Obviously, James is not out to hurt me, and you got to hear a lot of times before I finally screamed at Farnsworth. There were a lot of times where I was as calm as I could be. I have to look over my shoulder for him. I have to look over my shoulder for Molly, and I also have to look over my shoulder for the police because they know I'm trying to turn them in. If they'd have done their job right to begin with, it'd be a lot more effective. Anyway, I'm gonna find somewhere to go. There's a lot of people who are difficult to get a hold of due to no fault of their own. Mr. Roberts here, his phone issue, you heard us have that conversation on the phone, how splotchy and blotchy it was, and how we could hear him clear as day once he got there. The situation with Farnsworth, he could be a productive member of society. He's physically able, which is something that I'm not. Given the right environment, he is capable. And you know what? The same thing with me. If I am in the right environment, in a positive environment where I'm not constantly running around like a chicken with my head cut off, being forced to do things that are impossible. And that's one thing that many people want to keep pointing out, is that there's too much. I have to pick one little bit or piece. And the thing is that that's not possible. It's not my fault that people wanted to ignore it. And it turned into a whole bunch of dominoes, one falling after another. People to understand how scary that is for me to have Farnsworth do that over and over again. For him to come harass me at Lillian A. Goodspeed Park, where I'm only parked there because I know that the food is at one or the other churches, one on each side of the park. I know that there's a bathroom there. And he comes over and he starts screaming at my window, screaming at my door. Calling me a rapist, calling me a pedophile, the same thing he did to James, the same thing that he did to Otter, the same that he's done to about 4 or 5 other people who've spoken about the situation. Then there's his history of hurting people. And you get to hear from a lot of people that know Robbie that, yeah, he's absolutely schizophrenic. To hear from all these people that know I'm absolutely not schizophrenic. I don't come across as schizophrenic. I'm scared. And with Robbie, I try to be understanding because I know what it's like to lose loved ones in the most horrible of fucking ways. I try to be compassionate. I try to be understanding. And I think I do a pretty good job given the fact that I'm scared shitless of the guy. And then there's the part where I have to mimic his behaviors back at him, and he doesn't like that. He really did not like that. He didn't like me screaming at him that he was a child molester and a rapist. Except that's not actually what I screamed at him. I screamed at him, how do you think, or how would you like it if people screamed in your face that you're a child molester and a rapist at the park? Like, dude, I get that you have mental problems, so do I, but the thing is, if I'm going to go screaming that shit, it's because the victim come to me and fucking told me. Or one of their parents told me, and that parent was too much of a fucking pansy to go to the goddamn cops about it. Now let's make sure that we get this stuff all plugged in so that it's recording and it doesn't die on us. Oh, come on now. Fucking boogers. I hate having boogers. I'm gonna have to go get one of those incenses burn my nose. The dragon's blood ain't too bad, but they don't have it now. The conversation with Nicole Vertner, I definitely don't hate her, but this is something that I got to do a video breakdown of. I was going to sit down at James's house and write that stuff down, but there's also the interview that's been a long time coming. It's been hit and miss. The police easily could have gone over there and interviewed him about the situation. Instead of me being treated like I'm making this stuff up and like I'm not trying. I'm running around all the places they're telling me are supposed to help me. The fact those places aren't helping me doesn't make me a bad person. The environments that I'm stuck in, you know what? Given the ability to actually clean this stuff out,